Have you ever been to an old cathedral with those beautiful stained glass windows? Like there are a bunch of little pieces that are all different colors, but then when you see them together, they are a mosaic. They're gorgeous, and the light shines through just so to bring the whole picture to life. And that's one of the things that I've loved growing up. I've spent a lot of time going through old churches. And that's one thing I love to look at because they're all so unique and so beautiful. And I was thinking about those windows, about how if they were all one solid color, the artist may have had a vision of a picture that that he or she wanted to portray. They may have envisioned or like an emotion that they wanted to evoke, like they may have had something, but if it wasn't all different, if they didn't have the broken pieces and they, intentionally broken in, if they didn't particularly choose a glass piece for the color, it would have been just a window. If you would have had all blue, it would have been pretty. It would have been a blue window. If you would have had all red, it would have been a red window. If it would have been clear, it's just a clear window. And I wanted to talk today about the shine difference, about how when we understand how we're uniquely made, how we're uniquely wired, that's when we can be like that stained glass window and we can shine our light. When we are trying to do things the same way as other people, or we're trying to hustle in order to be seen or to feel valued, it's like we are trying to make a mosaic, trying to make this stained glass with all one color. Now, I have seen stained glass windows that are all like monochromatic, that have the same. And then I've also seen them different pieces, but they're still metal. There's still like a frame, kind of lead all through it that makes it unique. And so there's more than just one. It takes more than just one thing to make these windows unique. And the same goes for you. The same goes for the fact that you are like these stained glass windows. You have pieces that are jagged, you have pieces that are broken, you have some that are rounded and some that are, triangles, some they're all different. However, when you step back and you look at the whole picture of your life and you see what God has for you, then you're able to just lean into it. It's easier to shine your light when you know how God's wired you. And so one of the things that I have been doing, like this week, I have actually had Tammy Marie coaching. I have been in business for over 5 years. I've been working in the mental health world for, well over a decade now. It's actually been, I think we're at like 12 or 13 years. Wow. So it's still crazy to me. But as I was going and this last year, I've done a lot of reflecting, a lot of soul searching, a lot of time in prayer and asking, okay, what is the impact that I want to make? What is the impact that I've been called to make? Where do I shine my light? And funny enough, God gave me this acrostic that spells shine. And it goes with the framework that I've been using. And I'm like, oh, well, of course it does, because that's how God works. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this framework today, because this is something that you can take and you can intentionally start to step into who God called you to be. It's not hard. Now, we have tons of information. We have too much information now, and sometimes that paralyzes us. And so one of the things that this does is it allows us to kind of narrow down on what step are we on now? What's the next one where, we can stay focused so we can make the growth and step into who God called us to be. But I wanted to introduce this. I've talked about it a couple of times. I've even mentioned what shine stands for. But what I really want to dive into today is how the shine difference, how it goes with who God's called us to be versus the way that we've been doing it for a while. And so it's the divine design versus the digital design. Like, let's face it, we scroll on Facebook and we see people who are Well, we have our friends who are constantly complaining. Okay. I mean, we don't need everything is awesome. We don't need everything is amazing. There's no problems in our life, which is the other extreme that we see. But it's like, well, count your blessings, and like what you focus on grows. So when all you do is complain online, you're going to just get complaining. And then, like I said, there's the other side, that rose-colored glasses, their life is wonderful and there's no problems. And that also is not completely real. But this digital disguise, we're able to curate what we want others to see about us. Like I do that with my business a little bit. I don't put a lot of pictures of my kids. I don't talk about a lot of the things that I do until maybe after the fact. That goes back to my Air Force roots and operational security. Like, don't tell people what you're doing while you're doing it. And it's just kind of ingrained in there, but we get to curate. Like, I don't tell you all the times that I'm sitting and just writing, and days that I will have I'll have a client and that client is not doing well. Or is not, that took, something happened and they had to take a step back or so, we don't talk about a lot of these negative things because we want to curate. We want to show something. We want people to see us for who we want to be seen as, right? And so there's this divine design, which is who God's called you to be. You don't have to be everything's hunky-dory. You don't have to be everything is doom and gloom. Like we can be authentically us. And that's where the trying to copy what other people are doing because they look happy doing it. Well, if it doesn't align with who God called you to be or who he's made you and wired you to be, that's not going to bring the same fulfillment. And then also you don't know the steps they took in order to get there. You just see the highlight reel. And so there's a disconnect there, which is why this divine design, this looking at how God wired us, is the missing step, is the part that we get our own joy, we get our own peace, we get our own fulfillment, and we this more that we want is defined for us. Another thing is the power of embracing God's design for us instead of trying to do what is working for other people. It's because we don't have the same backstory. We don't have the same gifts and talents. We don't have the same experiences. And so sometimes we also don't have the same sense of humor and the same logic and the same, God has made us, each of us, so uniquely beautiful. Another reason why the shine difference matters and why to stand out by being authentically you is important is that it's impact through alignment, not hustle. When my kids were younger, I felt that I was always in the hustle. I was always volunteering at school. I put myself through through college to become a therapist. I had my internship. And then of course I wanted to some kind of social life. Even as a single mom, I had some girlfriends that I wanted to go have lunch with them every once in a while. And so but I felt like I was hustling. I wanted to serve at church. I wanted to all these good things. They're not bad things, but I always felt like I was on the go. And I was trying to do the things to help me feel fulfilled by serving. It was not just to make me feel better. I really wanted to help and to serve and to help others. But it's a whole lot easier when you understand your strengths, your gifts, what brings you energy. When you understand the elements of self-awareness and how God wired you, it's so much easier to say yes and no. It's so much easier to make this impact through alignment instead of hustle, because we want to make an impact. We have this need. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't have this need to help, to serve, to show up for other people. So this shine difference, this shine framework helps you because then you can lean into the alignment that God's created within you, instead of just trying to hustle things out until you find something that works. And then the third thing that I really wanted to share that is the success. We all are looking for success. But if we don't define it, we don't know when we've gotten it, and we don't know when enough. And so I want to encourage you that instead of just looking at success, you look at significance. And this is one thing that the shine framework does differently, is we look at the significance of our actions of, okay, why am I feeling a certain way about this conversation and I don't feel it with this other conversation? Why do I feel a certain way about this cause and not another? Or why does this drain my energy where this is actually harder work, but it lights me up? And that's part of this whole idea of the significance versus success, that our unique legacy is within this. And so knowing that these are three big differences, why the shine, like where we can step into the shine framework. And again, there's not any like earth shattering, but it's a journey you're going to be on forever, because how many times have we changed and shifted? And I really don't like this whole idea of the, new year, new you. It's new year, be you. And you can up level who you are, but you still are the same. Like God made you perfectly imperfect as you are. And so you can strive to add a little fuel to it and add a little skill and add, put some reps in to lean into your strengths, but doesn't mean you need to change your personality. And so let's talk about the shine framework, the shine difference. The S is see yourself clearly. Don't see yourself for who others need you to be. Don't see yourself for who you wish, like the talents and the gifts you wish you had. There is a time that I wish that I could sing. And then I realized that's not the gift that God's given me, which is okay. But there's other gifts that I have. There's other gifts that you have. And maybe it is to sing, but to see yourself clearly as God made you really does allow you to cut through a lot of the things, a lot of the wishes, and see that He doesn't make mistakes. When we just focus on the strengths that we wish we had, rather than looking at who He's created us and who He's wired us to be, we're actually telling Him, like, you didn't really do a good job, God. You made a mistake here. I just wish that I did this. And it's like, where it's really, He's like, okay, child, when you're ready to come back, like I've laid out a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, a good plan, a plan to help you. That the burden is light on the plan that I have laid out for you. There's still trials, there's still struggles, there's still circumstances, there's still challenges. Where there are people, there will be challenges. However, when you understand you, it gives you the freedom to understand other people, to step back and say, okay, I'm feeling a little stressed in this moment. I need to figure out why, or I do know why. It's because I've got too many decisions to make at one time. Or I know because I've been overwhelmed because I've been doing too many things, or too many of the wrong things. I've been saying yes to things that I should have said no to. So that's the first step, is see yourself clearly. The next is hear your calling. Once you start looking at who He's created you to be, then pieces start to go together for you to start to hear what He's actually saying that He wants you to do. It may not mean that you leave your 9 to 5. That's okay. You don't have to stop, or you may not, pull your kids home to homeschool, where you may homeschool and not be sending them back to public school or private school. It may not even be that you need to change your physical environment. But when we start to see ourselves clearly and we can start to hear our calling, we understand the changes we get to make within to start to live it. And so the next is to integrate your whole self. Now, I talk about whole self-care versus just self-care, which is kind of like modern day, like triage. Sure, going and getting a massage is great. Going and taking a bubble bath is great. And going and having a glass of wine and cheese is great. However, those are meant for moments in time. True whole self-care is taking care of yourself from day to day. And that includes relationships. It includes your personal development, your personal growth, in your spiritual health. It includes your physical health. It includes your financial health. Like, I'm talking about everything that makes up your whole self, your whole body. And once we start integrating it into the calling that you're starting to hear, and how you see yourself clearly is you realize, okay, well, as much as I like massages and as much as I like going to a friend's house, sometimes whole self-care is staying home and just reading. Or maybe going, like if you're an extrovert, going with a couple of friends and doing something fun, but it allows you to look a little differently, a little deeper at what do I need in this moment? What is God revealing? Because again, I talk about how like the self-awareness thing is not really all about you. It's more of you get to see how God wired you. You get to see the calling that he's placed on your heart. You get to see how you get to serve in such a way that is exciting and fulfilling for you. The next part is to navigate the path. There are so many ways to do things. We don't have to do it all. So this is part of like creating boundaries and understanding what's yours and what's not, understanding what is, like which direction are you leaning towards, how to say no to somebody who means well. Excuse me, I kind of got hiccups all of a sudden. But to navigate this path that we're on, we can't navigate what we don't know, which is why we start by looking and seeing ourselves clearly. We can't navigate if we don't know the direction we're going. If we don't, and our calling is the direction. That's towards our purpose, towards our impact, right? And then we have to understand, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we prepare for this journey? Do we need extra skills? Do we need to gain the confidence? Because all of this, as you are working through these steps, you are also gaining confidence in the fact that it's already innate within you. Your gifts are there. God's given them to you, and he didn't say, okay, well, I'm going to give them to you until you're 43. And then I'm going to just pop them away. No, the more you understand them, the more you can lean into them because he gave them to you. The more you can say, okay, God, I'm leaning into you and the gifts that you've given me, show me the way for the rest. And so this navigating your path is integrating all of those parts beforehand. And then the next is to embody your purpose. This one is one that so many people miss because you start on this quest to discover your purpose, to discover what your stained glass window is going to look like, but then you don't actually put it together. You don't actually put the pieces, find the colors and the lead. And I don't even know if it's lead anymore. I have a friend Stephanie, who does stained glass, and she is like the ultimate crafter. One day I hope to be as creative as she is. She does such beautiful work. And I love she lives in Colorado, so I don't get to craft with her very often, but we used to craft together a lot more when we lived in the same town. But this embody your purpose. You don't need to embody someone else's. You don't need to embody what is not yours. You get to clear the clutter, filter through all of the options, and then you get a choice too, because there's not just one specific way. There's not just one step that if you miss the step, sorry, you're done for life. No, God accounts for our mistakes. He accounts for our missteps. He accounts for the fact that we are human and we don't see things the same way he does. We see things very linear, where he is like, well, he's God. But to understand your purpose, to understand your calling, to hear your calling is one thing, to live it and to allow it to become you is something completely different. And so that's what the goal of the Shine method, because we don't want to hustle. We don't want to be stuck through the lens of other people. We don't want to live up to their expectations and miss out on our own. We don't want to have to put up this digital disguise. Authenticity is something that I've heard so many people say, I just want to be me. If you don't see yourself clearly, if you don't start to hear your calling, if you don't start to integrate your whole self, and if you don't navigate your path and you don't embody your purpose, how are you going to live authentically? Because you have no way of knowing whether it's the right direction or not. And so as we want this authentic, we want to show up as us. One of the coaches who I work with, she's diving into a little bit of AI video. Okay. So AI, it's something I do use. This is not AI. This is me. You can tell because I have gone off, because I have coughed, because there's just like, I am me, right? there are things I use AI to help me brainstorm. I use AI to help me come up with some ideas, but then I write things on my own. So know that I'm not bashing AI and I'm not bashing her either, but it's one of those things that she sent a video of, and it was talking about, hey, wouldn't it be great to create these videos and never even have to be here? Never have to do it. It just, well, your likeness. And I noticed that her voice was different. I noticed that her mannerisms were a little bit choppy. And I felt immediately before I even knew what the video was about that it wasn't her there. And so many times we talk to someone or we even ourselves when we're done with the conversation and you're like, I don't even know if I was really there. Did I show up? I didn't say what I wanted to say. And so by living our purpose, by embodying our purpose, living our life as authentic as possible, by living and being who God's called us to be, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about whether we're going to be this digital disguise because we're confident in who we are. We realize that success is great and significance is better. That we get to define what success is for us. And it doesn't have to mean a castle on the hill. It could be a small cottage that you have. I don't know why you'd want 30 cats, but it could be a small cottage with 30 cats. Whatever lights you up. And so I want to implore you. I want to encourage you to start to think about these steps. Because do you want to get another year down the road and ask yourself if you are even being authentically you, or you have this longing for more and you don't even know what it is. You don't even know what it means, or even worse, you feel guilty about it because you're doing so many things. You're like, am I doing the right things? Or you feel guilty because you want something else, but it would make someone else a little uncomfortable. And so you don't do it. So you feel guilty, that guilt, that shame, because God's called you to something and he's asked you to step out. He's asked you to get uncomfortable. He's asked you to live dangerously and do what he's called you to do, to accept the assignment he's put in front of you. And I'm going to tell you, not everybody who's around you is going to understand the assignment. In fact, there's not many people. You'll have some people who are going to encourage you no matter what. Stick with those people. I am so grateful. I have people who encourage me, even though they have no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, what? You're doing this now? And it's like, yeah, like even when when I started the podcast, which hello, we are at 4 years of the podcast as well. Like that, talk about craziness. 5 years in business, 4 years of the podcast, and it's still kicking. Like God has put favor on this. And I'm super excited because a lot of podcasts don't even last 100 episodes. A lot of businesses don't last 5 years. And I'm still here. And it's because of you guys too. Thank you for continuing to listen. I know that if no one listened to this podcast, if I looked every day and I got 0 downloads, I would not be doing this. But instead, I look and I see I get downloads every day. I know that my mission is to help you shine. Because when you shine your light, when you're the light on the hill, and you show the good things that God has done in you and for you, then other people can look for it too. It encourages them to go for what they are called to do. And so I just want to encourage you to take one step of this, see yourself clearly, hear your calling, integrate your whole self, navigate your path, and embody your purpose. Okay, these are in order, but it is like every time you level up, you get to start again. Okay, like the see yourself clearly. It's like, okay, now I know this about myself. So what now? Like, and now, like every season, I feel like this is kind of a rotational, like in this season, what have I learned about myself and how can I use it? What is God revealing? And typically it is when I'm getting close to him that he reveals things about me. And I want that for you too. So I would encourage you to take a step. And if you haven't done any of these, like start with see yourself clearly, because honestly, if you don't see yourself clearly, how are you going to embody your purpose? How are you going to even narrow down? And I'll talk about my take on purpose, because I see it from a different perspective than a lot of people. I think it's more of an outcome we're looking for versus the specific way that we need to do it. But anyway, and then there's some people who it's the way they do it. And I don't know, God is so good and he's so creative and does so many different things. But what's important is, what did he put in you? How did he wire you? How can you shine your light in 2025? How can you understand and see yourself clearer so that way you can be who he's called you to be and inspire who you've been called to inspire, and to impact those you've been called to impact, and grow in the way that he wants you to grow. All right. I have it's called Align and Shine. It's a 8-week transformational program. It is where we are going to work together to it's 8 weeks. We're not going to take all 5 of these steps and master all of them. But what I do want to give you is an intensive group experience. So we'll be doing this together. We'll start with some exercises to understand how God wired us. What are our strengths? What are our values? What are our core motivations? What are our core avoidances? Because when we understand that, then we can start to hear how God wants to use it. And so that's that's the gist. We are going to see, and we're going to gain the clarity that we need in order to start living our purpose, in order to start hearing our calling and doing it. Because just knowing it and hearing it is not enough. We need to take action, ladies. We need to keep going. But if you are interested, we are starting in February. But until then, I have 2 monthly free workshops. I have the 4th Thursday of the month. So we'll start here in January. I'm doing a Align and Soar, Ask Me Anything coaching. You come, bring your questions, come hang out, and yeah, let's do life together. Let's figure out how to shine together. I will do laser coaching. I'll answer your questions. This is just a time that I just want to show up for you and get to know you. So even if you don't have a question and you're just okay, who is Tammy? I've been listening to her on the podcast. I want to meet her. This is a good time. I want to meet you. And so more information is coming on that, but we will start the 4th Thursday of January. And then also the 2nd Thursday of the month, I am going to do a confidence code workshop. So breaking imposter syndrome and stepping into your impact with unshakable confidence. And so join me there. Again, it's free. There'll be a workbook for that. It's going to be 60 minutes. I will give you time to ask questions, but still, I don't want you to be in the same place at the end of 2025 that you are right now. I want you to be able to walk through this shine method with me this year and really step into who God's called you to be. And so if you want to do that too, reach out. Again, I will have all the information on social. I will put it in show notes as soon as I have the signups for that. It's free. You got to sign up to get the Zoom link, because I'm not going to put my Zoom link where any crazy can just log on. So yeah, to do that. Anyway, I'm so thankful for you. 5 years in business, 4 years of the podcast, and still going strong. I'm so excited to see what 2025 brings, and the favor that God has placed on this business and on my mission and on you as you are opening up to what He's called you for. So with that, choose joy until joy chooses you, and I will see you soon, friend. Bye for now.